Hello, this is Dr. Jeff Craig, Superintendent for the West Aurora Schools, and we're back with podcast number 5 today. And we are extremely honored to be able to have Gilberto Chaidez Jr. And Gil is a graduate of West Aurora Schools. And Gil, welcome this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
No, we appreciate you taking the time to come out and get through a little stormy weather today. Really looking forward to this. This is a little departure. We've been interviewing and talking with employees, and as a former student, we really want to welcome you back to the West Aurora grounds, and look forward to a good conversation today.
Thank you. Same as here.
So, give us a little bit about when you graduated, what that looked like right after graduation, and what you've been doing, and then we'll just kind of probe down some of those areas.
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated from West Aurora in May of 2009.
Okay.
And then right after that, I went down south to Champaign, Illinois, for the University of Illinois down there. Studied civil engineering. Did my bachelor's there, and then I decided college was too fun, so I stuck around for my master's in civil engineering right after that. So I graduated my bachelor's in 2014, and then my master's in 2015.
Outstanding. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. While you're there, just get after it, knock it out while you're in school mode, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have siblings.
Yes.
You want to talk about them a little bit?
Yes. So I got 2 younger brothers. Raul Chaidez, he graduated in 2013.
Yes.
And then he went on to Western Illinois, which he just graduated this May.
Home in the Leathernecks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So he really liked that school. He's actually in the U.S. Army. So
no kidding.
Western's very inviting to our veterans and to our military members. Offers a lot of programs, and it's something that really attracted him to that school.
Well, we appreciate his service.
Well, thank
Outstanding.
You. And then my younger brother, Melton, he graduated in 2016,
yes.
And then he went back to my alma mater currently right now, so I got an excuse and a place to go to for
Put that arm around younger brother's shoulder, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
well,
sir.
we know Melton well. He was one of our early student board members and was phenomenal representation of West Aurora High School in our district. So, once again, we really appreciate you being here. So, you have a civil engineering degree, you got your master's in civil engineering. What have you done with it? Where are you at? What are you doing?
So it's a funny story because if you look at the different careers I was looking at college, I didn't line up with where I'm at now. So currently I'm a project manager for Turner Construction. So Turner Construction it's a national construction management company. We've done pretty high profile projects, but here in Chicago we pretty much focus on healthcare, education, and more institutional type projects. So I'm actually right now working for the Advocate Good Samaritan Hospital in Downers Grove. We're doing a little bit of interior renovations. We're building out a new office for their HR department, and then we're building a new simulation lab for them. So when they have new doctors or new nurses come in, they essentially walk into a simulation patient room with these very high-tech mannequins, because they're definitely not dummies.
Yeah.
They're these high-tech mannequins, and they get to practice their different procedures there while before they actually go on to the real patients.
Keeping it real and relevant right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I can just see the look on your face, and I wish folks that are listening today could pick up. I mean, you're very proud of what you're doing right now and pretty excited about the projects you've got. So what drew you into civil engineering? What kind of said, hey, Gil, let's head down this path, because that's not an easy place to go, especially at the U of I.
Absolutely.
And I say that as I got my doctorate down in Champaign, and so I know it's rigorous, and it's not easy to get into, and it's not easy to get out of. So, what pushed you that direction?
So, from the very beginning, I actually most of my childhood, I actually wanted to be an architect, and it all boiled down to Legos. I always enjoyed with my parents, and it's a pretty typical question once you get into like the engineering world, that a lot of kids get drawn into engineering through Legos. When I was a kid, I never liked the Lego sets that were pre-assembled, where you already built either a ship or a park, or whatever. I always liked the big, it was like 2x4 tubs that all it had was little rectangles or little squares, and you got to make whatever you wanted out of them. And what really fascinated me was when I would go up visit Chicago with my parents, and you walk up to the Sears Tower, now the Willis Tower, or anything, and you'd say, like, how in the world is this thing still up in the air? No one's afraid that it'll fall down. And such fascinating structure. So wanted to get into architecture, design my own buildings, my own structures. And then once I was in high school, especially when I started taking physics with Mr. Stern, he just opened my eyes to a whole new side of basically building and construction through the world of physics. That through math and science, which I was really good at, you could actually take a different career and build things and make sure that these things work the way they're supposed to be working, and it just attracted me a lot better. And obviously, when I took a graphic design course while I was at West, I was not the best student there, so I figured math and science was the career to go, versus doing the actual design work itself.
It's incredible that you bring all those pieces to bear. That here you are, your family exposure just to seeing some of these incredible structures that not everybody gets to see. I mean, just downtown Aurora, I think we've got 13, 14 stories.
Yeah.
And you go down and talk about referencing the Willis Tower at over 1,100 feet. And then you're able to say, that's something I'm interested in. How do I pursue that? And it's an incredible piece. So if I can rewind you back to your comments about, your folks got you Legos and exposed you to some of those really impressive structures. I think it would be interesting for people listening. They said, geez, here's this guy that came from West Aurora High School. He now has pursued a passion and got a civil engineering degree, which was not a walk in the park. But now he's able to take that education, turn it into a career that he can be extremely proud of, making a difference for a lot of people. So talk to me back when you were a kid. What was that like? You talked about going downtown. You had two younger brothers. Just give me a sense of what life was like when you were a young child, and what some of the elementaries you went to, the middle school, and what that felt like.
Absolutely. So I'm very proud that pretty much from first grade through 12th grade, I stayed in the district.
Yes.
So I went to Hall Elementary School,
Okay.
I went to Jefferson, and then through the actual high school itself. And being the oldest, it was definitely tough. When I say that I'm a first-generation student, typically you hear that when it's first generation going to college, but my parents actually from Durango, Mexico. They come from a very rural background. So when you think of Mexico, you think of Mexico City, you think of Monterrey, Guadalajara, big cities.
Yeah.
My parents are from like a town that's maybe 1,200 people.
Wow.
So it's pretty tiny. Just think of pretty much like central Illinois. And at those times, you would get to 6th grade, and after 6th grade, if your parents were from money, which my parents weren't, you either went back home to work in the ranch to help provide for the family so that your younger siblings could go to school up to
Sure.
6th grade. So when I started going to school, up to the point of elementary school, my parents were very helpful in helping me out, but it was difficult. I actually grew up in Mexico. I was born here in Aurora, but really early in my childhood, I went back to Mexico, grow up with my grandparents and in their hometown, which I totally loved. It was definitely a great time. It was a very fundamental time of learning my family's history, my family's culture, so that when I came back to Aurora, I had a solid ground foundation
Sure.
to where my family came from. The hard part is that, obviously in Mexico you don't speak English. So come first grade, did not know a single word of English, and here we go. Let's do this, right? So I will still say to this day that even though I've achieved my master's, first grade was the toughest grade I've ever had to go through, just because of getting over that hump of learning the language and getting the right support, because you would look at my report cards. Reading and writing was always subpar, but math was just there, because math is universal throughout the world. And thankful to a lot of the teachers that I had. 2nd grade, Miss Nair, Miss Monaco for 3rd grade, Mr. Britton for 4th grade, and then Miss Schatzman for 5th grade. They were instrumental in my development. I went from, being a kid who struggled to basically meet the requirements of that grade level, to by the time I was in 5th grade, I was at an 8th grade reading level. And I love to learn. Before, I dreaded going to school just because I felt like I didn't fit in. It was just a constant struggle, and then through these amazing teachers that I had at elementary school, they really changed the direction of 180 of me wanting to go to school and excelling at school, and then eventually, I definitely owed it to them of being able to make it through the rigorous path, like you said, down in Champaign, that you really have to have the right mindset and the right
Right.
dedication if you want to make it through those programs.
You bet. Well, it's interesting you talk about you felt like you didn't fit in, and I'm assuming the language was a big part of that. But were there other aspects that caused you to say, "Well, I'm different," or I don't, I don't look like everyone around me, or vice versa?
It was more of a, like you said, it was the language definitely for sure that I felt I didn't fit in, and it was more of like an academic performance. Everyone was learning at a much faster pace, or whenever the teacher would read us a story during our breaks, I didn't understand any of it. And then I will never forget during lunch, it was like at the open gym, and you either had your hot lunch or your cold lunch.
Right.
And I don't understand the concept of why it was a cold lunch, because every time I brought lunch from home, it was warm. So I was like, okay, so kids eating their PB&J sandwiches, and here I come out with a Ziploc bag with tamales, and everyone's just staring at me like, what is that? And then they see that I'm peeling out the leaf, and you don't eat that. For a second, I was like, these are good, but I don't want to eat them when half of the school is just watching me eat it. So, but it was a good thing. The kids I made really good friends, and surprisingly, me not knowing English, there was a lot of kids that reached out, and to this day, it's real funny. When was it? February of either this year or last year, we had a little mini fifth grade reunion with some of these students. I think, thankfully, to social media and through Facebook, we connected, and it was like a group of 20 of us that got back together after 17 years of being in class together. So it was definitely amazing.
Well, that's a phenomenal story. Our board president is from Cuba, and had a very similar story about arriving at the high school age and not having the command of English language, and he's at one of the large Chicago high schools. But it's impressive that you had to pick up basically the English language as you went, and thankfully, as you said, you had some peers that reached out and kind of befriended you and helped make a difference, along with some guidance of some important adults. And it's impressive that you remember the names of those teachers going back
absolutely.
there. But and those are some things that we advocate here, is that every student should have at least one adult that they can go to. And obviously, you've had a couple in your life that have made an impact on you. That's just awesome.
Absolutely.
Were there other challenges that you kind of felt like were? You talk about food, that you eat differently. You eat different foods because that's part of the culture, and that causes people to take notice. The language is a challenge. Were there other challenges just culturally that you felt like you didn't fit? And then when did that change? Where like, hey, I'm part of this whole game, and I'm somebody too.
Absolutely. It wasn't necessarily that I didn't fit in certain aspects, but there was a couple times the idea of college really didn't come up until I was in sophomore, junior of high school.
Okay.
And it wasn't because my parents didn't encourage me, but when you come from a family background where making it to high school was already the first in the family, let alone going to a university, my parents were pretty much right there with me as invested, that they were like, we want to help you, but we just don't know what we need to do to help you. Versus, you have other students that are fortunate enough to have, their parents from day one tell them, figure out what your passion is, and we'll be there right there with you to help you out where we can take you to school to be able to achieve that. So I felt that there was a couple times that, I didn't know what to ask, who to ask, and where to go just to get the process started. Thankfully, I can't remember the name of this program, but there's a program offered through the high school that is pretty much just like, think of it like boot camp for parents of how to help your students get to college. And it's with I'm forgetting her name. She's a doctor. She's from Puerto Rico, and she was
Dr. Ferrer.
Yes, with Dr. Ferrer. And my mom actually signed up for that program. I mean, you would think she's taking a 300 level course at university. She came back with a binder of notes, and this is what you got to talk to. And it really boosted my path to this is going to be a possibility. And I just took it from there. And but without those resources that the high school offered, it would have been very difficult to have made it to a university, let alone make it to U of I, which right now is the #1 civil engineering school. It's definitely scared me for a second. Like, I put in my application, but I won't know if I'll get in. So I had a couple other options, and then fortunately enough,
I saw your
got
shoulders come back and your chest puffed out when you just said that. So I don't know if you noticed that.
it. No, I didn't.
That's awesome.
Of course I have.
Absolutely, got to be. That's just proud moments. You know, wow, I had no idea that was your introduction or your inquiry into post-secondary opportunity. And Dr. Ferreira, since she's retired, but what a dynamic, I mean, just her personality
Yes.
just really picked you up and grabbed you.
Yes.
And I can see why your folks would gravitate to that. And, it's impressive that your parents, whatever your passion is, we want to support you. We just don't know how, and how can we get behind you? Geez, I wish I could take 13,000 of those parents and say, this is what we don't expect you to have the answers, but please get behind your child and support them and move them forward. That's an incredible story. I want to take you back a little bit. You talked about Dr. Stern, the physics teacher, and
Yes.
he's still with us, and he continues to be a magnet for students because he is that personality. You talked about your passion and your leanings towards math and science. Talk a little bit, if you would, the importance of the high school education and that experience, and take advantage of those opportunities. And I differentiate the high school experience from the college experience, because in high school, you've got a lot of people around you that are pushing you. Hey, get to class. Hey, you got to get better. Hey, get your homework done. Hey, make sure you get this done. In college, it's on you.
Yep.
Nobody else cares. As long as you're paying the bill, that just get there and we'll take care of it. But other than that, it's on you. So talk to me a little bit about that importance of education at the high school, the middle school level, and that preparation. And I'm really curious about I don't know how to get to college. I don't know who to ask, and kind of that pathway that you went.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we could say that through Dr. Ferrer, she really opened up my eyes and my family's eyes that college is an option, and it's a very realistic option. But through Dr. Stern and then my counselor, Mrs. Copeland, they really refined it to like, okay, you want to go to college, but let's get to the facts and the figures as to where you want to go, what do you want to study. And I can't thank Dr. Stern enough for the amount of hours he spent reviewing my application essays. There's times that, we would have one-on-one sessions after school just to talk about, his college experience, what he did down at Purdue, and just ask me, like, what is it that you want to do, and kind of give me advice for it. He was actually very resourceful, and I got an opportunity to do an internship with a local engineering firm, Packer Engineer. And that really just made it an actual opportunity, a dream turned into reality, because they actually paid you. It was a paid internship. So you would go to Packer and you do different types of engineering experiments, and then you get a paycheck, and you're like, wow, your name's on this paycheck that has the letterhead of an engineering firm. So it can't happen.
That brings it home, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And, he helped me prep for my college entrance exams, and Mrs. Copeland was always there for me. If you want to take a college tour visit, you want to look at these other schools, I'm here for you. And I'd meet with her at 7 a.m. and I'd meet with him at 3 p.m. after school. So it was a constant cycle, and he never ever pushed me to say, like, you should go to this school or you should study this. It was more like he always listened. He always listened to what I had to say, and then he would just offer his advice as to what he thought would be viable options, but he always offered options. It was never, this is the best route to take, and I am entirely thankful for that.
Sound like you had choices, which was awesome. That's a valuable lesson for our adults to hear as well. That taking time just to listen, taking time to just give some guidance and not pushing them in a direction is extremely helpful, and I don't think sometimes we realize the impact we can make by just taking a moment. And I want to go back to the student experience as well. So now that you are the wizened veteran, as a graduate of West Aurora High School, graduate of the University of Illinois, capably engaged in a civil engineering position. What kind of guidance would you give You talk about Dr. Stern's guidance and your counselor's guidance and your folks, your parents' guidance. What advice would you give, A, to students who are in their sophomore, junior, senior year at West High and are just unsure? Maybe they've tasted the waters of different content areas and just not sure where they're landing. Give some guidance there, and then I want to probe down a little deeper. But let's start with that broader question first.
Okay. I would definitely say, so I'm an engineer, so everything to me is equations and numbers. Failure has to be part of the equation for you to succeed.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to fail, and that's definitely something. Just because when I was a student, that was a big fear of mine. I can't fail because then you won't qualify to make it to certain universities. But failure is part of the process, and having that mentality, I feel that students will be more confident in taking riskier choices. And by what I mean by riskier choices, it's more of truly finding what their passion is versus taking, what they see as like I need to get straight A's in order to make it to college. Which straight A's will help you.
It doesn't hurt, right?
But it does. But it's definitely not. If that's the only thing that you can accomplish, it's definitely not as attractive to certain universities, and it's not helpful for you to once you do try to get your career in the future. Because at the end of the day, my boss never asked me what was my GPA. It's more about what the results that you can bring to the table. So failure is part of the equation to success. And at the same time, when you're a sophomore, junior in high school, a lot of times you'll ask yourself, well, I want to be this. Why does U.S. history apply to my career? And it may not, but it certainly won't hurt you to know U.S. history. Sure. So try to do as best as you can in every class that you're taking so that you can have a good foundation. And then that way, if you never talk about U.S. history, that's fine. But you at least, made it through, and you showed that the universities won't necessarily value more of what date of certain historical events, but the way that you can process certain information for that applicable field. And I think that sometimes students kind of look at that. They want to get to A, and they take a straight shot to it. And yes. From the short time that I've been on this earth, I've learned that nothing's ever a straight shot. You kind of take a lot of curves and detours, and then next thing you know, you're in the middle of it, and you get to where you want to go to. So don't ever give up. Failure is part of the equation to success. And one thing I would tell myself if I was in that seat today is sometimes try to venture into learning about something that that maybe you're not interested in right now, but if it has a spark of interest, take it and see where it takes you. And the reason I say that is because I was so focused. Once I knew I wanted to be a civil engineer, it was all about math and science. And I was pretty much took that mentality through most of my undergrad. And it wasn't until my master's that I said, well, this university offers so many programs. I could be learning about so many other things. And now that Melton's taking economics, like, geez, I wish I took more economics classes. They were so interesting. I took one my senior year of college, and, by that time, there's not as much wiggle room of taking electives. But for students that are now sophomores and juniors, take as many classes as you can, as your schedule allows you, that maybe you can throw in a class that doesn't necessarily fit with the norm and see if maybe that'll spark an interest in you that you never even knew you had.
That's incredible. I mean, that's a pick-me-up for me. I'm getting fired up right now. And I really like the way you said, if I could talk to myself back then. What a great way for kids and even adults to think about. If you could reflect back, what would you tell yourself to do different or do more of? I think that's awesome. If I could ask you to touch briefly on, so students are thinking, that engineering thing, that looks pretty cool. I think I want to try that. What would you encourage them? I know you would tell them pick up the math and science piece, but what other pieces and what guidance would you give them in terms of what you learned on your path, and how would you make it even more beneficial?
So unless you have a relative or a close friend that's an engineer and maybe could help you kind of see where you take like a tour of a college, your counselor is the best resource, and that's what they're there for. And I think I worked with Miss Copeland to the point that maybe sometimes she was already dreaming about me showing up to her office in the morning. But she was very helpful, and I'm always thankful to have had her as a counselor. But what I would recommend is if you can, and specifically to civil engineering, there's construction going around everywhere. I mean, we had it in our own backyard when Westwood was doing their major renovations. What was it, to the field house?
Yes.
To the field house. If you're interested in it, obviously, for safety reasons, maybe you won't be able to get access into the site. But if you can view it from outside, just visit it a few times a week and then see what the progress is like, and that'll spark your mind. A lot of times construction companies or design companies will have job shadow programs, and most counselors will know about that. And if they don't, they usually will know someone who may know about them. Just don't be scared to take that route.
All I can say is no, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing, kind of like alluding to, if I was younger at that stage, I always look for either getting a summer job, just help pay with the bills or help pay for my gas money. But if I would have known that there was like apprenticeship programs that you can get into with the trades, you help out. You're basically a helper to a carpenter, you're a helper to a pipe fitter or an electrician. If I would have known that knowledge from the field and then applied that throughout my college career, so that now when I'm a project manager working with multiple trades, that knowledge is invaluable. It's so valuable.
At least the vocabulary would help, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's because you learn one thing in college, and then you get to the field where someone's been doing it for 30 years, and they call it something totally different. You're just scratching your head like, I have no idea what that is.
Didn't see that in my textbook.
Yep.
That lecture.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So if you could do that, take a little summer job and be an apprentice or help out, be a helper, I think that would open your eyes to construction in general, and really get into the nitty gritty of, is this what I want to do? And this is the reality of you being able to build something. And I think it's real cool, at least for the few years that I've been with Turner, that every once in a while I get to drive around and I'll tell my folks or I'll tell my girlfriend, like, hey, look, I helped build that. And it'll be pretty cool to, see down in the future, when I have my own kids and my own family, that say, look, your dad was working on this.
Absolutely.
And you get to leave your legacy physically and literally there.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And I tell you, with that solid advice, I hope we can encourage some of our current students and maybe some of our soon-to-be college students that can listen to some of this advice. That's just right on the money. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's, if I'm going to take you back into 2007, 2008, 2009, what's some of your best memories of West High?
Oh, boy. 2000, those early 2000s. I think I don't have a specific memory, but what I will tell you is between 2006 and 2009, I made some close friends. When they say that once you go off to college or once you leave Aurora, you won't see these people again. And it's true in some cases. You won't. There's no way of being in contact with everyone. Mm-hmm. But I made very bondful memories, very close friends that, I still talk to them on a daily basis, and we still meet with each other on a daily basis, and especially when a lot of these friends of mine, we didn't meet in high school. We met back in Jefferson, or we met back at Hall Elementary, and you kind of just build a rapport, and it's real interesting that every once in a while when our work schedule allows it, we get to meet, and it's exciting to be able to see what they're doing and hear about their stories and their successes. So it's just funny that you think about, we were just a bunch of kids who really didn't know where we were going in the lunch cafeteria or in our certain classes, to now, like, I have friends that are lawyers, I have friends that are doctors, or just finishing med school, and it's like, wow, to be able to say that, you're my friend, and we all started from Aurora, and now we're doing great things. It's just a warm feeling and a very proud moment.
Awesome. And you never know, right? Mm-hmm. You never know where the life's going to take you. So, I noticed you're wearing your University of Illinois shirt today, proudly displaying
yes, sir.
your alma mater post-secondary. talk to me a little bit, and we're a little biased here, and we're trying to get Mr. Perez over here into the blue and red.
Yes, sir.
What's it mean to you to be a Blackhawk?
It's it just means being able to be part of a community of leaders, a community of successful people that it's funny, with every year that passes, I think my pride of being a Blackhawk grows. I graduated from high school, and it was a proud moment, but it was more proud of, like, we graduated, and now I'm more excited about going into college and, venturing that. But now that I'm done through college, and especially seeing my brothers go through high school, every time that any student does something successful or something, exciting in the high school, I feel like it's like a sense of pride that comes out of it. Even though I may not know that student, the things that I have seen either through social media or just heard about is amazing. I mean, I almost feel that every year they just take the level of achievement one step higher, because there are things that when I was in high school, we had the what was the name of that program? It was basically like a fundraiser that we basically slept in the Blue Field House, and we were raising money for the kids in Uganda.
Sure.
And I was like, oh wow, we're having an international presence. And then I see how this goes all the way up to like this current year, where where I saw that there was like a museum exhibit for all of our war veterans, where they had like the helicopter and everything there, and how they took a very strong statement of saying, West Aurora is here for our veterans, West Aurora is here for our military members, and it's just amazing. And to have that exhibit, I'm sure that everyone in the community who has served feels thankful for being recognized for that. So I think being part of the Blackhawk community is just being part of literally a group of people who are striving to have their own individual successes, but at the end of the day, when you take a step back, it's all stitched together, and if you look at it from 30,000 feet in the air, it'll probably show that West Aurora red and blue, like the way it showed a couple weeks back with the who was it, the ABC 7
Yeah,
news?
with the flyover.
Yeah, with the flyover, just like that.
That's good stuff.
So it's just exciting. It's exciting to be part of a community that's doing so well, and to see that Aurora is shining and it's doing well, and it's thankfully it has part to do with the things that our students are doing at West.
Well, Gil, we're certainly proud that you're one of ours, and we continue to claim you. So congratulations on a phenomenal academic career, and just proud that you're doing so well and contributing back to our communities in your role as a civil engineer. And we're just proud that your family is part of our family. And so thank you for being here today.
No, thank you.
Gilberto Chaidez Jr., just thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. Your words probably are more impactful than most of our adults can be, just because, not that you're not an adult, but our employees, just because you came through our system, you are showing you're a shining example of what can be and what should be, and what just a little bit of hard work can do, and a little creative mind, and then family support. So thank you so much for being here. We're proud to have you here, and wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and the TuneIn radio app. And I would encourage you to subscribe to our broadcast, and please give us your feedback so we can continue to improve our discussions. This is our 5th podcast, and we're signing off, and hope you listen. Have a great day.